My name is John Swasey, and I am fired up to be here, thrilled to be here, and thank you all for being in my humble little panel. You can leave the door open, unless we're bothering you. But I think that this is just kind of a Q&A. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So cue it up, and I'll A it. If I can.
It's a little early, but
That's all right. That's all right. Yeah, I like these early. Yeah. So, does anybody have a question at all?
Right then.
Great. Thank you all for coming.
All right.
All right. Yes, Angie.
Okay. Obviously you're in the update version of Evangelion. Did you are you familiar with the original? Like, what was that translation?
Well, I'm very familiar with the original because I have the dubious honor of, you know, the show Bewitched.
Yeah.
You know how Dick York was the original Darren, and then Dick Sargent became the new Darren. I'm Dick Sargent.
Oh no.
But not just for that, but also for Hohenheim in Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah.
So I replaced Scott McNeil in Full Metal Alchemist, and I replaced Tristan McCavery in the original, as Gendo in the original version of Evangelion. And, you know, it's one of those things you're like, okay, you know, because for me, it's like, well, great, I'd love to do it. It sounds fun. And they're like, well, here's the thing. Some people may hate your guts for it.
Oh.
You know, because, you know, you find a character and you're like, oh, I love that character. Why did they change him? You know, so. But it's, you know, certainly not my decision. I'm just glad that I got the opportunity. But yeah, so I was in it from the get. And then in the original, when ADV had it, the original, I did other characters in the show as well. Because that was just about the time I started as a voice actor in anime. I've been an actor professionally since '87, and I've done film and thousands of commercials and, you know, blah blah blah, television and, you know, things like that. But I started in anime in '96, and that was it was like '97 or '98, I think, when I did some Evangelion. So.
What do you enjoy? I mean, do you find that you enjoy one more than the other, like acting on screen as opposed to being behind the mic?
I enjoy being behind the mic better because I can go to work like this.
Yeah.
I enjoy it all, but yeah, I think I love voice work. I love it because you can, you know, first of all, I have a face for voice work, so. Oh, come on! I'm kidding. I'm gorgeous. But no, I'm just kidding. But you know, I mean, I love it all. But I just enjoy voice work so much because you can really stretch what you're able to do. You know, don't but I'm perfect. I'm not a leading man. I'm a character actor. So I'm not going to be the guy that gets the girl unless it's an anime. Or the boy, whichever one. Yeah, the one.
Does that explain why you've been doing anime recently?
Well, I've been doing anime since '96. So
That's what I mean by
Directing more.
yeah,
Right?
I have the dubious distinction, for what it's worth. I read this on Anime News Network. Apparently, I'm the most prolific male voice actor in North America. I've done more roles and more shows than any other actor, including Vic, Spike, Scott. They're all great and uber talented people, but I've done more roles. My wife said that when I was actually in, I had a great chance to go to a new convention in Dublin, Ireland last year, in August, as a matter of fact. And I took my wife with me, and we had gotten some voice work literally on the plane. A client called me and said, we need this voice. And I said, well, all right, I'll find a studio in Dublin. And so my handler, which is Angie here, essentially, she arranges a studio in Dublin, and we take the train out to this little country house. And it was really a magnificent little venture. But on the way, I excused myself to go to the restroom, and my wife is sitting there talking to this girl. She goes, I just can't believe it. I can't believe I'm on the same train as John Swasey. And my wife said, you know, it's really not that big a deal. Oh, she keeps me grounded. And but she said, but he's just so talented. He's just done so much, you know. And she said, yeah, you know, if Vic Mignogna is the Brad Pitt of anime, then John Swasey is the Kevin Bacon. No, I thought it was a compliment. I was thrilled there. I love Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
And I love Vic, and I love all those people. Anyway, it was just, it was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
You describe yourself as a character actor.
Yes.
Who are some of your favorite character actors, like in movies? You kind of sort of maybe draw some inspiration from or anything like that.
Jack Nicholson. You know, he's a leading man, but he's certainly a character. Yeah, you know, there's just a lot of them. You know, even Brad Pitt, I think, you know, a lot of people think Brady's just a leading man. It's like, you know, you watch some of his earlier stuff, he does some awesome character work. I mean, even, I remember watching Thelma and Louise, and you know, of course, none of us knew who he even was then. And I remember just being riveted, like, dude, that guy's gonna be a star one day. He is awesome. So, yeah, but Jack Nicholson is probably, and then some older ones, Robert Shaw I loved him. One of my favorite actors of all time is Paul Newman. You know, so, good question though, thank you. Yes?
So you played Wong on Darker Than Black.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about that performance?
You know, well, what are your thoughts?
It was an awesome show, and without
I thought it sucked.
No,
You know what?
was-
You know what? I got to tell you, that was one of my favorite characters to play. In fact, on my demo reel, if you go to my website, you can see it. But if it's on my demo reel, that is the first character that pops up because I loved he was, you know, this kind of down and dirty. All right, now listen, here's what we're gonna do. And I just Zach Bolton was the director on that. I love working with Zach up at Funimation. And he just, you know, when you work with directors a lot, the directors generally will, I don't want to say pigeonhole you, but they will, when they look over a cast, they will say things like, oh, Greg Ayers is perfect for that character, or Lucy Christian is right for this, Monica Rial is good for this, and Colleen Klinkenbeard is going to be perfect as this. And I just feel very lucky that they feel like, oh, in this role right here, it needs to go to John Swasey. It's very humbling and very honored. But I generally play those types of characters that have a lot more character to them, as opposed to just being themselves. I mean, if you listen to, like in Full Metal, what Vic is doing is really not far off from his normal voice. I mean, it's a little different, but it's not far off. So I like being able to do things like Wong or Crocodile in One Piece, or you know, Soul Eater, Death, you know, and Lord Death and stuff, where you really have to push your voice to a new dimension, you know. Although it does wreak havoc on your vocal cords. You like walk out just going, all right, see y'all later. Anybody else? Yes.
Out of all the characters that you voice, who do you feel is the most relatable to you?
Get vulnerable.
Who is the most relatable to me? Well, that's a tough question.
Do you need to marinate?
How about we start crossing up the list of ones that are not related to you?
Well, okay, it's just process of elimination. Well, that might work. Golly, man, I gotta. I hope this doesn't sound like the wrong answer, but none of them really. I don't, because they're all so different. You know, because I've auditioned. Trust me, man, I have auditioned for roles where I thought I'm just gonna go in there and be myself and just go, hey, come on, let's go, guys, you know, or whatever the lines are, and I never get anything because it's always just. No, we need you for this wacky Gates character in Full Metal Panic, you know, or something like that, where it's like, all right, now listen to me. You know, it's like, so, I hope I'm not relatable to a pedophile, but that's... How y'all doing? Thanks for coming. See y'all later. Have a good one. Yeah, we lost 2, we gained 2. Come on in, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Oh, we know you're looking. You poked your head in. How y'all doing? Good. Good, what are your names?
Diana.
You're both named Diana, really?
Yes.
That's Excellent. That must be rough on you, sir. Yeah. Good for you. You in the service?
No.
Oh, I just said black dog tags there. Y'all having a good time at the convention?
Very much.
Excellent. All right, moving on.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm having a great time. Now that y'all are here. So, do you have any questions? Yes.
Out of all the acting jobs you've had, which do you think is the most that you've grown from? This single experience that you think you've developed as a voice actor?
What have I grown from the most?
Which one in particular do you think you've learned the most from as far as your job goes?
In voice acting or just acting in general?
Voice acting.
In voice acting, God, I like it again. It's pardon me. You know, when I started at ADV, I was a pretty well-established actor in Houston, in Texas. Was able to make a living, and it's a fairly big fish in a pond, a small pond, you know. And I remember walking into the audition for ADV, and I kind of walked in, and I regret this, although it makes for a good story, but I regret this for the rest of my life. I walked in with a little bit of an attitude, like, you know, I'm John Swasey, how you doing? Y'all probably see me on this commercial or heard me over here, and let me go. And I had no idea what anime was. And I walked in, and they said, okay, we'll read these lines, and you know, they told me the process, and I said, okay. And I did it, and they're like, okay, well, thank you for coming in. And when you hear the words like that, you know, okay, I just effed it up. So I walked out the door thinking that did not go very well. And I turned around and walked back in and said, may I try it again? And they said, sure. So I walked in, and then I started just going crazy and, you know, like a manic chimpanzee in a cage, just doing all this weird stuff. And they're like, whoa, that's great. You know, that was awesome. So, but my point is that from that moment, it's really been a process for me. It's like a train rolling across the country. There was never a moment where I just went, ding, you know, and everything went, oh, I get it. It just has really been more of a process that's been continual and continues to be a process, you know. It's, you know, there's some mechanics of it. I mean, just doing the voiceover and listening to beeps and recording it and doing it at the right levels and all this kind of stuff. And that's just mechanics. But for, you know, really the hardest thing, I think, for me is actually trying to find the character. Because a lot of times you'll record something, you'll start a new show, and you'll record a voice, and 30 minutes into the recording, you're like, okay, let's take a break, you know, let's whatever. Let's go back and start again, because we've found the character now. You know, it's taken a little bit of time to get there, but we got it. And, you know, now that we've found it, let's go back and redo those front lines, because they don't really sound now like this guy. So it's a process, really.
Because they don't really prepare you, right? A lot of times
No, they don't prepare you at all. I mean, the only preparation you might get is when you audition, you get a chance to see the characters, see a picture of them, and then you read a few lines. And really as a director, when I directed at ADV, you know, really what you're listening for, you're just listening for a voice tonality, you know, is it going to sound right if it comes out of that character's mouth? You know, does it look, you know, if it's some big burly guy that's like, hello, how are you? You know, it's not going to be right unless you're going for comedic, you know, whatever. But anyway, it is just a process, and you just have to find that voice, and you work on it, and hopefully you get it, you know. But you don't have a lot of time to prepare for it, you know. So.
Was it a strange transition, going from being a voice actor to being a director, to know what it's like to be the actor and say, I have to find this character, like you said, and to be the director and say, now I'm watching them searching and trying to find it, and it's like almost like you have to relinquish that control. Was that a weird transition?
You do. It is, and you do have to relinquish that control, because when you are sitting in the director's chair, especially if you are a voice actor, you have moments where you're like, that's not the way I would read it. I would not do that at all. That is so wrong. But you have to trust the actor's instinct. And I mean, you know, you're the director, so you can guide them. but you know, I would never give them, why don't we say the line like this, you know, and read it for them. You would never do that, but it is kind of tough because you have this this definite urge to want to perform it. You know, this is how I envision it, and you just have to let them do their own exploration and discovery. You know, and find out what they want to do with it. Because you know, you think about it. What would a show sound like if you did all the characters? You know,
It would sound like Big Mama.
yeah, or sound like yeah. So,
The Simpsons.
or Family Guy.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
Although Family Guy, I mean, you know, Seth MacFarlane's about as gifted as you can get. So he's brilliant. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. How is it that you, do you actually watch the anime that you voice for, and do you do it before or after you do the voices?
No. Next question. No, you know, no, that's a very valid question. It's a very good question. Do I watch anime before? No, I don't. For one thing, I don't know what shows I would be auditioning for, so I don't just randomly watch anime. And then after the show, you know, when you go into the booth and you record, and I'm sure you all have heard this before, so this may sound like regurgitation of other people's comments, but you know, we don't go in and work on the whole show together as a team. I come in, Chris Ayers goes in tomorrow, you know, this guy, Mike McFarlane, goes in the next day, Colleen goes in the next. So we never work with the other actors. In fact, it's really ironic, but a lot of times the only time we ever see the other actors are at conventions. Because, you know, I work up in Dallas. I live in Houston, so when I work in Dallas, I drive, you know, 4 hours up and work for 8 or 9 hours and drive 4 hours back. And I may see somebody up there, I may not, but chances are I'm really going to just probably see them at a convention, you know. So, but you never get a chance to work with the other actors. So, that being said, after I'm done with a show, it may be 3 months before it even comes out, you know, because there's all kinds of whatever they do, mastering and putting it all together. And, you know, and especially when I worked at ADV, where I was doing it almost 24/7, you know, working on it, the last thing I really wanted to do was unwind with some anime, you know what I mean? It's like, you could have been doing this all day.
Once you
Like
make your
to-
hobby your job, it's no longer.
Right, exactly right, exactly. So, so no, I don't really watch too much of it. My kids do though, they love it.
You said something about the whole everybody does their lines separately. Do you think that that works just as well as just like having everybody in the same studio and to play off each other or something?
No, I don't. But you don't really have a choice in what we're doing, because what we're doing is just looping. It's called ADR, and we have to match what's already there as far as the animation goes. So it doesn't, there's no need to have another actor in there to play off each other, because we're not looking for those emotions. And you know, like if what is your name?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. All right, Elizabeth. If I said, Elizabeth, I love you. I want you to run away with me. And then you said something like, but I can't, I've got a camera in my hand. I said, put it down, you know. Well, we would have this exchange, and if we were doing prelay, which is laying down the audio before it's animated, then we could have this exchange. Okay, that was good, but do it again, and Elizabeth, we want you to be more blah, blah, blah. And John, you be more not as bad. And you know, this kind of thing. So we do it again, but we'd be able to have this chemistry develop between us, you see. But you don't have that luxury in what we do in anime, because it's already done. We're just dubbing in the English, so you have to just go in. It's a little more mechanical. Now, what you do have to do is, and this, you know, this kind of goes back to what you were asking a minute ago. This was actually a very much a revelation for me. What you have to do, and what's really very important to do, is you can't go in and think, I'm going to recreate this character. I'm going to do it the way I'd like to do it. I'm going to make it my own. You can't do that. It's already been done. All you're doing is putting in the English. You can't change his emotion. You can't change his feeling or his, whatever that Japanese actor did. You have to really emulate that. And if you don't, you've changed the story. Imagine if you watched A Few Good Men and Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise are going, "You want answers? I want the truth. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth." And then it was dubbed in Spanish, and it was like, "Dios, no, 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 no." It's like, you've got to be in that emotion. So, going back to your question now, I just realized, I remember there was a moment in my life, I just kind of went, "Ah," and I thought, I cannot change this. I've got to listen to what that actor did and do it and be it. If he's in love, I gotta be in love. If he's pissed off, I gotta be pissed off. Because otherwise you've changed the whole feeling of the story. So, yes?
Do you find that more challenging to have to match their emotion than to be in a show where you create your own character?
That's a great
Come up with
question.
your own.
No, I think it's easier to just match what they've done because it's painting by numbers or here's a blank canvas. One is you're just copying, the other is you're free to create. You're not free to create really here. Because if you think about it, when you do anime, you're sort of in a box. You've got to stay within the lip flaps. You get a translation. The translation is turned into a script. Hopefully those words in the script match the lip movement of what's there. If it doesn't, you change it, but you don't have a lot of freedom to just, okay, actually, here's what we're going to have him say. You can't do that. So they're very different, really. But I think it's easier, in my opinion, it's easier to just mimic it. I was I was directing something. It was a live action show, and it was from, I think, Hungary. And it was actually it was in English, but it was these Hungarian actors in English. And the lead actress, her English was unintelligible. It was nothing against her. She just, she's Hungarian. She's not English or American or anything. So they asked us to redub her voice with an American actress. And we were doing it, and for like the first hour, I was like, "Oh God, that's not right. Try it again. And this is actually the moment where it just went, "Oh!" I realized, why am I fighting this? Just listen to what she says and say it exactly the way she says it, but intelligibly, And it worked out, and we were like whipped right through it, and the client loved it. But because she had done a great job as an actress, it was hard to understand her English. So it dawned on me that you have to do what they do, So, anybody else? On this side of the room. Question? Technically, that's not a question, but I'll answer it back with hello. Yes.
I read about a project that you're working on with some friends, Zeke and Zerlong 5.
Zeke and Zerlong 6. Yes.
What is that all about?
I will tell you what that is about. We're trying to get that launched. It'll probably end up being like a webisode type thing or a web series. Zeke and Zerlong 6 is done with Vic Mignogna and my friend Kyle Jones, who used to be an ADR director at ADV, and another voice actor named Jay Hickman. And Zeke and Zerlong 6 are little shorts that it's about an alien named Zerlong 6 who crash lands his spacecraft in Texarkana, Arkansas, or Texas, because right on the border. And he lands in a trailer park, and he can't get it fixed, so he just puts it up on blocks next to this other trailer that's owned by Zeke. And they just sit in their lawn chairs with their feet in a baby pool drinking beer and talking about shit.
That's awesome.
And now, I will tell you that I hope it works, but tonight we're doing a screening of a live action movie called Gamera that we did at ADV that Kyle directed, and Jay's in it, Vic's in it, I'm in it, Monica Rial's in it, Lucy Christian's in it. And it's a live action movie that we did for the Japanese, and they loved it. And then one day, Kyle Jones, in his twisted mind, came up with the idea to do a spoof version, which we did, and we did the entire version as a bunch of rednecks. And we're gonna have a screening tonight at 9 o'clock in Panel Room 4, so please come by. But if the DVDs work, we're gonna show a couple of Zeke and Zerlons.
Yay!
So,
Cool.
yeah, so we're really trying to use the con network to get this out and see if we get, just see what we get back feedback-wise. It's not a. And I was supposed to bring T-shirts to sell, and I left them at home. So.
What brought that up? What made you decide? You know what? I want to do this. Let's just do this crazy thing.
Beer.
Boredom.
Beer is usually the culprit of a lot of crazy things.
Were you drinking beer with an alien with your feet in the kiddie pool?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All right.
That
51 is
happens.
the biggest
Actually,
night spot in town. You kidding me? $2 drinks on Tuesday nights at Area 51. It's awesome. Hi guys, how are y'all doing? Welcome. Y'all have a question?
I guess I do. I recently saw the Brotherhood bloopers and it was hysterical. You probably got second place behind Al with Hohenheim.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, there were ones that you had one laugh.
Oh, well, thank you. That is one of the funniest lines I think I've ever done in anime. It's, I'm going to paraphrase it because I can't remember exactly, but it's like, Edward, why did you burn down my house? What are you talking about? That was a very fun character to play. I love playing Hohenheim. Or as he's affectionately known around the studio as Ho-Ho.
Papa Ho-Ho.
Ready to do a little Ho-Ho?
Little Papa Ho-Ho.
I guess. Do you have a question?
Yeah, speaking of Hohenheim, how was it coming in after Scott McNeil had done the first version? So how was it coming in and like kind of replacing him?
Well, you really, Scott is such a gifted actor. He's so talented, and I've met him a couple of times, actually in Florida at MetroCon down in Tampa, and in Houston. I don't really know him very well, but he seems like a very nice guy, but he's a very talented actor. And when they asked me to audition. I was up at Funimation, and they asked me while I was in the studio, they were like, hey, could you read something for us? And I was like, yeah. And I read this stuff, and I was like, is this Full Metal? I was like, because they were very secretive about it. They're like, I don't know. And I remember calling Mike McFarlane, because he was the director, and I said, any word on that thing I auditioned for? He's like, no, there's still, it's not my decision alone. It had to go through the channels and up the ladder and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I didn't give it another thought. It was almost, golly, I think maybe 5 months before I got word. Okay, need you into the studio for about, 10 hours or whatever to knock this stuff out. And I realized, he's like, this is, Hohenheim. Scott McNeil voiced it originally, and now you're the new Hohenheim. And I was like, oh, great. Scott McNeil fans are gonna hate me, or even though of course it wasn't my decision, but one of the things when you do a character like that, or when I replaced McCaffrey as Gendo, is that they want you to sound somewhat like him, but they don't ask you to like mimic it. We're not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes here. It's just they're going to see in the cast list it's not him. So, it was kind of weird at first, but I think they kind of withheld that information at first so I wouldn't get weirded out about it.
Yeah.
So, again, the reason that they didn't have him, had nothing to do with his talent. It was purely a visa thing. You know?
Yeah.
He lives in Canada, and this was in Texas, so couldn't get too much farther away from each other. But, yeah, but it was a fun character to play, and
You did a good job. I liked her.
well, I think I was far better than Scott ever was.
No, I like you
Kidding,
both.
Scott, I'm kidding.
I like you both. I just thought you
Very
know.
sweet to say that. Thank you.